Jay, do I need to say?
Is another day just to give you thanks for the love you gave. God had to know Teresa was the best mom for me. I wish I had. I wish I.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Teresa Jacobs. I'm a family medicine doc. And every now and then, I have a little podcast that I like to talk about health and wellness. And on tonight, I have a special guest that's with me, one of my colleagues, and we are going to talk about menopause. Ooh, I get a lot of questions about menopause. I see folks in church with those fans, and they just be going at it in the middle of the service, and they not doing the fans for the boots on the ground. They fan it because they hot. And so we have with us a wonderful family medicine physician, and her name is Dr. Siobhan Stubbs. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Dr. Siobhan Stubbs, Atlanta native and family medicine physician practicing here in the greater Atlanta area.
All
Happy to
right.
be here.
I'm so glad to have you with us. But let's just jump right in. And I'm going to start it off because I've gotten several questions. I asked folks what did they want to talk about or if they had any questions on this topic. And absolutely they did. And Dre, I'll get you to put the stages of menopause or perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. If you can put that slide up real quick, we'll talk about that. And so premenopause is, when you start as a young girl, you start your period, and that starts the clock. Believe it or not, that's called premenopause. And then as you age and you start getting in those late 30s, early 40s, you have something called perimenopause. Some of you may be symptomatic, and we're going to talk about some of those symptoms. And then there is something called menopause. Now, I hear a lot of people say, I'm in the menopause. Ooh, the menopause got me. And so today we just want to make sure everybody understands that menopause is a one-day event. That means that you've had 12 full months without a period. You're not spotting, no bleeding, none of that for a full 12 months. And on that last day that you don't have a period for 12 months, you have now entered menopause, and it's a one-day event. Because after that one day, so the next day, you are what they call postmenopause, right? So right in the middle is menopause. Before you start it, before menopause is perimenopause, menopause, and then it's postmenopause. So menopause is just a one-day event. And so when we hear people say I'm in menopause, all these menopause symptoms are getting me, that menopause actually is a one-day event, and we want to make sure everybody's clear about that. Dr. Stubbs, did you have anything you'd like to add about that, or do you want us to go on to the next one?
Menopause affects all women. Everybody's going to experience some of this. And so when you think about that in the grand scheme, half of the population is going to be affected by menopause or perimenopause or postmenopause, either directly or indirectly. And hopefully we'll get into tonight talking about some of the impact it has on family life, workplace performance, mental health, other health problems and issues that patients and people have as it relates to menopause. So menopause is this, from perimenopause, you see this whole transition from the beginning to until postmenopause.
Wow. Now you said something. You said that over half the population is going to experience that. So that means that as a woman, if you keep living, sooner or later, you're going to have some perimenopause or postmenopausal type symptoms. Sooner or later. They may be mild, they may be severe, but sooner or later, it is something that we all just kind of naturally will go through. Now, one of the questions that a lot of folks will ask me me, Dr. Stubbs, is what's the earliest age that somebody can start feeling those symptoms? And we're going to talk about those symptoms shortly, but what's the earliest age that somebody can start feeling those symptoms?
Generally, we start to see those in the 40s. Everything starts to change and kind of, break down. Your joints get a little achy. Everything gets different around those mid 40s. And it just goes from there. It just goes from there. We start seeing those early, most common signs. Our periods, our cycles are irregular. We getting those hot flashes. We're getting night sweats. We can't sleep at night.
Uh-oh. I think that is her
Those
internet.
symptoms
There she
and
goes.
changing. We get vaginal dryness, vaginal discomfort, all of those kind of early signs and common signs that we see and hear about in that perimenopausal phase. And usually
Wow.
that starts in those 40s.
Wow. And what's really happening to our bodies? What is causing those hot flashes that so many people have? What's causing all of that?
So what's causing that? The reverse of puberty. Those hormones are going up and down and up and down and all around and all over the place. And it is wreaking havoc. It's wreaking havoc on our bodies. And so just think about back to when you were a teenager or you coming into puberty, or when your daughter was coming into puberty, and how she was moody and having hot flashes and mood swings and all of those issues. That's the same thing that's happening to you as you're hitting that perimenopausal phase and you're experiencing all of those weird constellation of symptoms. It's because of those fluctuations in those hormones, that estrogen and progesterone.
Wow, wow, wow. So that all kind of makes sense. Now, what's so you is there anything we could do about it? What advice if you got somebody in their 40s that come to your office and because they're having these hot flashes and maybe even some mood swings? What do you talk about? What does that visit look like when a woman comes into your office?
It's all about lifestyle. Honestly, it is. Are you sleeping? Are you eating well? What's your diet consist of? Are you eating a balanced diet? Simple things to really balance out and try to control those symptoms. Yes, there are lots of medications on the market, at the pharmacy, over the counter, all of these supplements and this, that, and the third. There's so many new things that are coming on the horizon that are targeting women's health. But honestly, we have to go back to the fundamentals of our basic lifestyle habits and making sure we have good routines, consistent bedtime schedules, making sure we're staying hydrated, we're drinking our water every day, we're eating a balanced diet, we're being active and exercising, we're doing some strength training a couple of times a week, pelvic floor therapy and exercises. I know a lot of time we talk about pelvic floor weakness after, women have children, but it can be very helpful when you're transitioning through this perimenopause to menopause, the postmenopausal phase. Pelvic floor physical therapy can be helpful for some of that vaginal discomfort and symptoms that you may experience. So there are lots of things that are possible to manage the symptoms and to balance out the hormones.
Wow, that's good. That's real good. I think we have a slide that we can put up because you said something about lifestyle, and I know that frequently we're taught that there's some things that we do that will unfortunately cause us to or cause those perimenopausal symptoms to be a little worse than others. And so I put it up on the screen, risk factors for a more symptomatic menopause transition. Unfortunately, if we're overweight, sometimes allows to more estrogen to be out there that could cause us to have some more problems if you're a smoker. And I always, Dr. Stubbs, tell folks, I don't care what you smoke. Yeah, whatever you're smoking can cause you to have a more difficult transition. So,
Yes.
so that's all of it. It's all of it. Whatever. If you got some smoke going into those lungs that shouldn't be going there in the first place, it can make your menopause transition a little more symptomatic, shall we say. So drinking alcohol, as we know, and alcohol, they've discovered that, and well, I'll say they discovered, but many of us physicians, we already knew that drinking alcohol, even in moderation, sometimes can cause many of us issues, increased strokes and heart attacks and other problems as well. And now we see it can cause us to be more symptomatic, and as we go through that transition to menopause. And of course, any type of substances that you use, any drugs besides weed, opioids, any of those can also cause us to have a more symptomatic transition, depression, anxiety, lower socioeconomic status simply because of the nutrition. If you're not eating appropriately, those fried, spicy, greasy foods that all of us really love can cause us to have a more symptomatic transition. Was there anything you want to add to that slide?
Definitely. I mean, it's right there. Nutrition, that is so key. Eating a very balanced diet is so imperative to improving our symptoms, our overall well-being, and just really helping to balance out those symptoms that you're experiencing from menopause. So nutrition is key. Lifestyle, exercise, sleep hygiene, all of those things will definitely make a difference in how you feel and experiencing some of those symptoms of menopause. In addition to kind of the ones mentioned, a lot of patients or women may experience brain fog. They may experience more depression. They may experience joint pain and joint stiffness, especially once they hit that postmenopausal phase and they have such significant drop and loss in those hormone levels. And then they have issues with their weight. They're gaining more weight in that midsection with these changes. So it definitely can be lots of challenges that come with it. And that's why it's so imperative to build healthy lifestyle practices prior to starting the change.
All right, Facebook and YouTube Live. We are talking to Dr. Siobhan Stubbs, who's a family medicine physician. Our topic today is perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. We're talking about those symptoms, the average age that somebody would go through actual menopause. So we're talking about all of that. How do you treat it? The whole 9 yards. I'm going to ask you to like and share and subscribe if you're on YouTube, the checkup with Dr. J. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, put it in the comment section and we will pull those questions out and answer those questions live here on social media today. Now, I think I have someone that we may be able to add to the stage here. And I probably should just stop touching buttons. Elder Jane Cottrell, are you there? Can she unmute herself? And let me see if she has a question that she has that you'd like to ask on today. Elder Jane Cottrell, is that you?
That's me. I'm enjoying what I'm hearing and some things that I did not know until tonight. I'm really amazed, and I'm like, did I go through that? Because I have multiple children, you know. Um, so this is so good to get information like this. Back in our time, we didn't know anything about menopause. We weren't educated on about menopause. You're just going through the change, as they say. But this is really, really good. And I think we need more of this information throughout the year for women, because there's a lot of women that are going through this menopause stage, you know. So, especially my sisters, Jesus, they need to be on here.
Well, hopefully they can see the recording and they can get the information that they need. And let's ask Dr. Stubbs. So siblings, sisters, do we all go through the change the same way, or do we all? Cause so can I kind of look to see how my mom went through the change, and am I likely to go through the change just like she did?
So every person is different. Okay. Everybody, even though we all have the same genetic makeup, your symptoms may be more severe than mothers or sisters or aunties or cousins, or they may be less severe. It varies by person, but generally, families who do share the same genetics will start to have the change and start making those transitions from perimenopause to menopause around the same age. So that's a good way to get an idea of when am I going to start going through this change and experiencing these symptoms is when did mom or older sister or auntie start going through those transitions from perimenopause to menopause. And you'll have a better idea of when you're going to start having those symptoms as well.
Wow. I guess my dad was right. One day out of the clear blue sky, he called me and he said, I think you should know that the women on your mom's side of the family, they go through the change late in life. So they have kids all in their 50s. And I looked at the phone and I wanted to just kind of hang up on him and go, what do you mean they had kids in their 50s? So so can you, if you're still having periods every now and then, say every 3, 4, 5 months or so, are you telling me we can still get pregnant?
Oh, yes. And it happens. It definitely happens until you hit that 12 month, that 365 days without a menstrual cycle. Yes, it is still possible. And oftentimes those patients will come into the office saying, Doc, haven't had my period in 2 or 3 months and not even thinking about being pregnant because I'm too old for that. And it's a little bitty bun in that oven. So yes, yes, it can definitely happen for sure.
Wow, now that's a shocker for a lot of folks. So that's also a warning. If you haven't gone that full 12 months, beware, beware,
Beware, yes.
have
Make
some.
sure you are using some protection or some type of contraceptive because it can definitely happen.
Wow, wow. So you don't want to have any oopsie babies. That's what we used to call my sister, the oopsie babies. Oh my goodness. So now let me ask the question because you talked about perimenopause or like in the 40s or so. What's the average age that those full 12 months and then bam, we're in menopause? We hit that menopause. What's the average age that a woman would go through?
Usually in the 50s, about 52, 55, right around in that age. The transition or the perimenopausal period can usually last about 4 to 8 years, typically for most women. And so between that, if you start in the mid 40s, usually by the early to mid 50s, you've kind of hit that menopause period. So it can just be variable, like I said, from person to person,
Yeah.
based on your genetics, based on your environment, based on your lifestyle. All those things can be factors in, but generally around those early to mid 50s, you'll find that women have kind of hit that menopause and jump into that postmenopausal phase.
Got it. Got it. All right. So I think this is one of Jane's sisters. And this is Donna Michelle Franklin. Are you one of Elder Cottrell's sisters?
Yes, I am.
And you have a
Can,
question? Thank you. Welcome to the podcast on the day. You got a question for us?
oh no, I'm just listening. I okay. Well, I'm gonna ask a question. Yes. Um, Mine came and it came back. It left. It was here and then it came back. And so now it's just at nighttime, and it comes at a certain time at nighttime when I just get this hot flash, wakes me up in the middle of the night, and then that's it. That's all I go through, I think. So I'm just learning a little bit about, why. I'm just like, why? Why does it come back? I mean, it had left, and it was just like a little breeze. Now it's just like every night, and it's getting more and more. It's coming back more and more. Like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Am I eating something wrong? Is it something that you know, I eat before I go to bed that I shouldn't? Maybe that's the problem. I don't know.
Oh, I think that's an excellent question. Donna Michelle Franklin, I think that's an excellent question. Dr. Stubbs, you want to take it or you want me to start it off for you?
You can start. You can start.
All right. So, because you know what? I had the exact same thing, Donna Michelle Franklin. I'm 70 now, so I don't really have those problems. But the hot
Wow.
flashes, yeah, the hot flashes was basically the only thing that I really had. And for me, I found out that there are certain foods that really, really aggravated it. All right.
Mhm.
And so I'm one of those folks that believe in vitamin herbs and supplements. I
Mhm.
also believe in eating healthy, though, fruits and veggies and drinking lots of water. But if I ate a beef hamburger,
Ooh.
I don't care how long it's been, but if I eat a beef hamburger every now and then, I would have this. Oh, I'm on a Big Mac. Oh!
Okay.
Every now and then I have a Big Mac. But guess what? If I ate that, when I eat that Big Mac, I can guarantee that I'm gonna have hot flashes all night long. When I
Oh.
cut beef out of my diet, I didn't have the hot flashes. So then I started to think, well, what is it? Because there are certain foods that really do trigger it. If I don't eat beef, there were no hot flashes. If I just ate, fish, chicken, eat lots of fruits and veggies, drink a lot of water,
Mm.
I minimize the caffeine in my diet. That's usually the way I eat. No hot flashes, but you let me have and I'm gonna tell you the second food that did it that I found out. You let me eat a beef hamburger or a good old fried pork chop.
Ooh. Mm-mm-mm.
Woo!
Wow. So I
Yes.
think my
So
thing.
yeah,
I
so
think.
for me, yeah. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that was the issue for me. And once I also, I heard Dr. Stubbs talk about also not just eating healthier, but also maybe exercising, making sure that I get enough sleep at night, all of that. So when I started doing all of that, that also decreased those hot flashes that I was having. Now we're going to talk about hormone replacement and some other treatments and therapies, but I love your question because I know a lot of women that are going through those hot flashes. And
Yeah.
if you can't deal with those hot flashes, then it's time to make that appointment. Go either see your gynecologist or your PCP, your primary care provider,
Mm-hmm.
because can they help you? They absolutely can. I went through it all natural, and that's because of all of the studies. They were talking about hormone replacement and how bad it supposedly was. But since then, I'm gonna let Dr. Stubbs talk about this. We
Mm-hmm.
now know better. And so there is treatment for you, not only just naturally so, but there's also treatment out there. And Dr. Stubbs, would you go ahead and talk about that a little bit more?
Definitely. And from a lifestyle approach, the other thing I would add to that is really being conscious about your caffeine and alcohol intake, because those things can really flare up those, hot flashes and stuff that you're experiencing. So definitely making sure you have, limiting your caffeine intake,
That's
maybe
my
1 cup
caffeine.
only in the morning and try not to
Yeah.
have any after lunchtime, and
I
really
don't
be
do.
conscious about your alcohol
I only
intake.
do it in the morning. That's it.
Awesome.
That's it. And I don't drink, so it has to be something with maybe sweets because I don't eat a lot of sweets, but sometimes I do want to eat a sweet, eat something sweet at nighttime. And that's probably what triggers, you know.
And oftentimes I tell patients to keep a diary, keep a log when you're experiencing different symptoms. Keep a log and kind of track what you had to eat before the symptoms started. That
Mm,
way you have a better idea and you can be helpful for the doctor when you go to your doctor's appointment and you're telling them I'm experiencing this, I'm
yeah.
experiencing that. But as far as management options, there are many things on the market now to manage not just the symptoms, but also to replace those hormones. There's
Mm,
various types of hormone therapy that are available depending on your health status, depending on if you've had a hysterectomy and maybe your ovaries are still there, or if you had your ovaries removed. There are lots of options that are available. There are vaginal options that can be inserted vaginally, pills, lubricants, moisturizers. There's oral tablets that can be taken for hormone replacement, as well as patches that are available. And there's also lots of medications that are on the market just to manage the symptoms solely. So if hot flashes is your main concern, or mood swings, there are medications for that. If you are waking up in the middle of the night at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and you're drenched in sweat and you got to change your pajamas and change all your sheets on your bed, there are medications to help with that. But also therapy, behavior therapy can definitely be helpful for managing the insomnia, for some of those hot flashes and mood symptoms that you're experiencing as it relates. So there are lots of treatment options. The key and the important piece is really to get into the doctor, to see your primary care physician or to see your OBGYN and have those conversations with them. Let them know what's going on with you. Let them know what symptoms you're experiencing, because we cannot help you if we don't know what the problem is. So have those candid conversations to let them know. Say, hey, doc, I'm having some issues with vaginal dryness, or it's, painful when I have intercourse. Have those conversations so that can best guide how we manage your symptoms. Or, doc, I'm just having mood swings, I'm irritable, I'm anxious, I can't think. Have those conversations. But also, as you are going, through menopause and perimenopause, this not only is affecting you, but it's affecting your partners, your family at home, your co-workers at work. So, be open to have that communication with people so they can help you through this process and, give a little bit more grace as well.
All right. Thank you, Donna Michelle Franklin, for your
thank
question.
you.
And
Thank you.
but all right, thank you. All right, all right, all right, all right. We are the one question we didn't answer yet is how do you diagnose it, or is there a way that you diagnose it? Is there one one of Diane Lewis says that menopause is all over for her, so she's post menopause. So she's fine. She don't have any issues. But so how do you diagnose it? Are there some tests that they do? What
So
do you?
there is no blood testing that is needed to diagnose menopause. And you said this initially at the beginning, that is that 12 months, that 365 days of not having a menstrual cycle is the key. So we don't need to order all these tests to check your hormone levels and to look at this and to look at that and all the things people hear about on social media that they want to come into the doctor and demand. We don't need that. We just need to count those days and mark it on the calendar, and that's it. 12 months of no menstrual cycles, and there you have it, a diagnosis of menopause.
All right. So you heard it here. 12 full months. That's the big thing. The full 12 months, 365 days without that period. Then you can do a little jig and say, I'm officially in menopause, because that's what I did at 51. So I was very excited about it. Very excited about it. So now, what happens though? And so that's in the 40s. I heard you say that. But what if every now and then I would have somebody to come in their late 20s and they would describe symptoms that sounded like they were in, having some perimenopausal type symptoms, especially with the hot flashes and the mood swings. If they're in their 20s, is there a different workup for those folks when they come in?
So we can do some workup depending on symptoms, but this is why, as a younger female, it's important to know what your family history is. So learning about that family history and
Mhm.
also building those strong habits now, as far as nutrition, sleep, your exercise, getting regular checkups. So when these things may arise, we will know, is this something out of the ordinary, or is this actually truly menopause? However, in younger women, it can be issues with thyroid disorders, it could be anemia, it could be chronic stress disorders, it could be pregnancy, it could be other hormonal disorders or medication side effects. So there can be many things that will cause patients to experience kind of those symptoms that they're confusing with menopause.
Okay, that sounds really really good. I think we have a yeah. Let's put up the myths and the facts when it comes to menopause. And I think that is always interesting because a lot of people have these misconceptions in their mind that menopause is something that suddenly happens. I got it right now, well, or this is something that happens now. I got it. And I think that part of the education, as Dr. Stubbs is back, part of the education is that menopause is a transition. And I think that word transition ought to be something that you put into your vocabulary, because it's not something that usually happens suddenly, but it's usually something that is a gradual thing. A lot of women will experience, they may go 3 or 4 months without a period, and then maybe on the fifth or sixth month they'll have some spotting, which means that it's not menopause yet. I've had some other patients and friends that I know that they would have heavy flows where they would, go through many pads throughout the day because their periods are now really heavy at times. And so there's lots of transition that's happening in the body. And so you just need to know that going through perimenopause and when you finally get to menopause can take several years. Some folks, as long as what, 7 to 10 years, Dr. Stubbs, would you say? And
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's a gradual transition. There's lots of things going on in the body, as Dr. Stubbs has said, and primarily is those hormone levels are doing a thing. And so if you're concerned, again, I will also continue to encourage everyone to see your gynecologist or see your primary care provider and ask them about or tell them what you're going through and what's going on with your body. Another myth, because this is you only really hear about hot flashes. A lot of people know about hot flashes. Oh, that has to be that's the sign that you're going through, or you're transitioning to menopause. But there are many other symptoms. I'm going to have Dr. Stubbs to go over those again. Some of the other things other symptoms you could have. But I will say this because she mentioned about our diet and exercise, about lifestyle. Women in other countries, many women in other countries, they don't have the same amount of symptoms that we have over here in the United States. They don't have a lot of hot flashes. They don't have a lot of the vaginal dryness and the mood swings and all of that. And they attribute it to their lifestyle. They drink lots of water. They drink green teas. They eat fish, chicken, and turkey, and it's baked, broiled, or grilled. They eat lots of fruits and lots of vegetables, and they walk a lot of places as opposed to driving everywhere they go. So those women in some of those other countries really don't exhibit or experience the severity of symptoms that we do here in the United States. And so, Dr. Stubbs, would you take it from there about what other symptoms besides hot flashes?
Definitely sleep disturbance, night sweats, mood changes, changes in your menstrual cycle or the symptoms you experience prior to your menstrual cycle, vaginal dryness or vaginal discomfort, painful intercourse, brain fog, joint pain, migraines, weight changes, more anxiety. You can have, higher stress levels or, more intense stress level or lower tolerance for stress, lower libido, just changes in your overall energy level. So these hormones are shifting and they're affecting other organ systems in your body. So it's important to stay active because as you're hitting that postmenopausal phase, you're at higher risk for osteoporosis and damages or breaking in your bones or easily damage to your bones with those dropping estrogen levels. Your heart health is important as you have lower levels of estrogen. You can have higher risk for heart disease. So if you have blood pressure, that's something you want to start getting under control before you hit that menopause phase. So you'll have less issues with heart problems as you get older. And then exercise, your metabolism changes as you lose estrogen. So you'll have more weight gain, especially in that midriff abdominal areas. So it's important to really, think back to those lifestyle changes, making sure you're staying active, walking, exercising. Everything is not running a 5K or running a marathon, but just simple, a nice brisk walk, you know, 3 or 4 times a week after dinner will be something good that will be weight bearing exercise to increase your bone health, reduce your cardiovascular heart disease risk. And you can start doing those things now so that as you're starting to hit that perimenopausal phase, you have less and less issues with those symptoms. And I can't emphasize enough in making sure you have those conversations with your PCP, with your gynecologist, so that they can help you go through this transition and go through this process. You do not have to be alone in this. There are resources, there are support groups, there are therapists. All those things are available to you as you're going through this process.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And for those of you that are watching it, usually when I talk to my patients, I have them put their fingers up like this, and I tell them this is all the caffeine you're supposed to have in the course of a day. And so for those of you that do sodas or pops and you do 1 liters and all that, that doesn't fit in this. and so and so you have to limit. Yes, Phoenix Love, limit your caffeine.
Yes.
That's definitely one of the things. So if you drink, coffees and even some teas have caffeine in it, so you have to be mindful of that. But sodas or pops, they have caffeine in it. Chocolate, believe it or not, has caffeine in it, and so you have to be mindful of all of those caffeinated products. And so we'll tell you to make sure you read those labels when you are consuming the drinks that we drink. But there's no replacement for water. And I'm going to say that over and over again, that there's no replacement for water. And so I just want to make sure that you add enough or adequate amount of water into your diet on an ongoing basis. Now, lastly, we're going to go ahead and wind this up here. Dr. Stubbs, you've been really, really good But I just want to hit on this before we kind of get ready to sign off here, because somebody in their mind is asking about, hormone replacement. That you talked about that, but who are those folks that probably should not think about hormone replacement and look at some of the other treatment options? So I put them up on the screen. Dr. Stubbs, if you want to go over those, feel free to do so.
Definitely. If there's any unexplained bleeding, any irregularities of bleeding, this is something you definitely want to get in with your primary care or your gynecologist and talk about that. If you have history of liver disease, definitely any type of cancers. And cancer is one of those things that we see so much on the horizon, but also one of those things historically that has been such a fear factor with hormone replacement therapy. People have been, terrified of, oh my God, I'm going to get cancer from this. But it's about knowing your family history, knowing your history, getting your regular preventive wellness visits with your primary care and gynecologist so that you can identify these things early and we can limit, exposing you to things if you have a history of some type of estrogen containing cancer, any type of cardiovascular or heart disease, if you've had a stroke, if you've had a heart attack, if you have a history of blood clots, or any history, personal or family history of clotting diseases or clotting disorders, you will not be a good candidate or a safe candidate to start on hormone replacement therapy. So make sure that you are having these discussions, but not being a candidate for hormone replacement therapy doesn't mean you have to suffer through menopause. That is the importance of having these conversations, because there are so many medications on the market, so many herbal things that are available, and new medications are coming out every day. I'm sure if you watch TV, you'll see some of the commercials for newer medications that have come on the market in the last 2 years to help with symptoms of menopause. So definitely, definitely, definitely have those conversations with your primary care and with your gynecologist so you can get some treatment and help as you go through this transition.
Absolutely. So not everybody is a candidate for hormone replacement, but the vast majority of people are candidates for hormone replacement. And so one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that you hear today is that hormone replacement is an option for many of you all. So I want you to think about that. Talk to your PCP or your primary care provider or your gynecologist, because if you're less than 60 years old, you don't have any of those risk factors that Dr. Stubbs just went over, and you're still within 10 years of the onset of menopause, then you could possibly be a candidate for a hormone replacement therapy. There are other medications out there, like she said, that can help you as well. So you don't have to suffer alone. You really don't, because there is help for you. So we want to make sure that you're in the know. And that's the biggest reason why we wanted to talk about menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause on tonight. We want to make sure that you all are having those conversations with your siblings, like you see Elder Jane Cottrell and her sisters. This is a conversation that they're having. So you ought to have mothers. You ought to be having these conversations with your daughters, aunts, teas. All of us ought to be talking in your women's groups at your churches. You ought to be having these conversations. This should no longer be, oh, she in the pause. It shouldn't be this secret society where we're holding information. You need to educate these young women in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s. They need to be in the know as to what's going on with their bodies. And so, your community, your church groups, your your sororities, and so all of these groups, this ought to be one of the topics that you all talk about. It shouldn't be taboo. It should be something that we are talking about, that we're educating the members, the women, and even the men, quiet as is kept, that's in your community, you need to talk to them about it. I see Bridget Harper has put a question up there. What are your recommendations for the over-the-counter treatments? Dr. Stubbs, did you want to start off with that? And then I can kind of go through what I've done. Oh, it looks like she may be frozen. And so vitamin, herbs, and supplements are something you ought to look at. I am at 50 years old, my appetite started to change. And so I just didn't eat all of the foods all of the things that I should be eating. And so my gynecologist suggested that I look at taking a multiple vitamin. And so that is one of the things that I have incorporated since the age of 50, that I take a multiple vitamin. I want you to be mindful. Oh, Dr. Stubbs, are you back? Yeah, because you were frozen. I think she's still frozen. I want you to be mindful of these companies that sell you vitamins, herbs, and supplements at 70, 80, $100. You don't have to spend that kind of money for those. You can just go to your local Walmart and get the store brand one. Those are good enough. I would be mindful if you don't have a calcium deficiency, be mindful of taking extra calcium. Be mindful of taking extra magnesium and potassium, because I know you'll hear people telling you to take some of these black cohort, St. John's wort. With St. John's wort, you're only supposed to take it for a very short period of time. The same with black cohort. You're not supposed to be taking that for a long period of time. So I just want you to be mindful when you hear about these vitamin, herbs, and supplements that are over the counter, because many of them are not FDA approved. And so you have to be careful. Look for either FDA on it or USD on it or USP on it. If it should have an expiration date on the bottle, it should have contact information. If you're looking at a vitamin, herb, or a supplement, you ought to be able to glean all that information off the bottle if it is a good, viable product. But again, a multivitamin is something I think that we all should be taking after once we get to about the age of 50. I just think that's a good idea. Dr. Stubbs, are you back with us? Because you've been frozen.
Yes, I'm sorry. It was
all right. Go ahead.
frozen.
Go ahead.
Yes, but definitely have these conversations with your primary care. A lot of times we hear about things on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. Please, 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 before starting any supplements, talk it over with your primary care or with your gynecologist. Definitely a women's daily multivitamin is great. But if there's anything beyond that you are wanting to try, please take that with you to your appointment and have that conversation, because your primary care physician is going to know your medical history, your issues, your background, and they can best advise you on which of those things might be safest for you to try.
Excellent. Yeah, NIH has a website that talks about vitamin, herbs, and supplements. You can go into the National Institute of Health. That's NIH. You can put your vitamin that you're considering taking, put it in there. It'll bring it up. It'll tell you about any trials that they've had with it. It'll tell you about any side effects that they've had, that the people had. It'll also tell you about if you should be taking it. It'll talk about high-risk patient. It'll talk about the dosage, maximum amounts that you should be taking. And so go to NIH website, and what I can do later on is put the website up on YouTube and in my Facebook as well. But go to them and look up whatever it is that you're trying to take or you're considering taking, because there are some things, unfortunately, that cause more harm than good. And just because your friend down the street took it and they didn't have any problems, that doesn't mean that you can take it and you won't have any problems. So make sure, as Dr. Stubbs said, that you take that bottle of whatever it is that you want, to write it down and let your primary care provider or your gynecologist, see what it is so they can make some decision. And it looks like we've lost Dr. Stubbs, unfortunately. And so we're winding down. And if you have any other questions, you can feel free to put that in the chat and we'll answer those. But I think we're having a really good conversation, a real good discussion today, because it's important, because I know that a lot of folks have over-the-counter meds that they really love to take. I told one person, I said, you're going to take that to the grave, aren't you? So, but just be careful, because there are some supplements that may interact with your prescription medications. So I want you, that's why, as Dr. Stubbs said, make sure you take that or write it down and show it to your provider as to what you would like to take or what you're taking. I had one patient who was taking 2 supplements that unfortunately that elevated her blood pressure and it raised her blood sugar. So you need to be really mindful, because not everybody can take echinacea. Not everybody can take all of the supplements that are out there. So I just want you to be very, very careful, because you could be, doing more harm than good, and you're trying to do something good for your body and for your general health. So, Dr. Stubbs, just before we leave, do you have any parting words for those that are listening tonight?
Yes. Get some good lifestyle habits going now and talk with your PCP. Make sure you are eating well, drinking water, getting enough sleep, staying active and exercising, eating your fruits and vegetables, avoiding risky behaviors like excessive alcohol and smoking, and drugs, and follow up with your PCP. If you haven't had your wellness exam for the year, this is a great time to do it. A good reminder to get in and get those appointments done and have these conversations with your primary care provider.
Excellent, excellent. And I see that Lady Green put in the chat for us, NIH.com. Feel free to go to that website and look up this. They have vitamins, they've got herbs, and they've got supplements on that website. And it's one of my favorite websites to go to, because it lets us know about the risks and the benefits of whatever that over-the-counter medication that you take. And it is a medication. I know some of you think you don't think that vitamin herbs and supplements are medications, but yes, they are. And so they just don't go through the FDA process, for the simple reason it's listed as a food and not as a medication, but it is those are medications as well that can do you more harm than good. So thank you so much, Dr. Stubbs. We greatly appreciate all your wisdom and knowledge on today. And we just can't get away from those lifestyle things, guys. We can't get away from diet, exercising, or walking, getting enough sleep, getting enough rest, and drinking more water. Those are things that we just really have to do. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful, blessed evening. And thank you so much for joining us on tonight. Be blessed.